a Chanukah crash course. We're continuing our Chanukah crash course. We're going to be learning today about lighting of the candles as we stand this morning 1 week before Chanukah. It is the 17th of the day of Kislev. Today is December 3rd, I believe, and it's exactly 1 week before Chanukah. Yep. 1 week before Chanukah, Thursday night next week is the Festival of Lights, and this is far from an idiosyncrasy, far from a mere custom or cute tradition. This is a deep and profound porthole into the power and the blessing and the energy of Chanukah, which is about illumination. And heaven knows, we all know that we could use some illumination to our darkness. If we want to access that illumination, that energy, that power, which is present on Chanukah, we have to do it properly. You got to enter the code. You got to insert the right key into the lock. The right key is the laws of the mitzvah. And that's what we're learning today in the Chanukah crash course. We're learning about the actual laws of the lighting of the Chanukah candles. Good morning to you, Corey and Marty and Dean Dubensky. And anybody else that's with us live or later, conspicuous or inconspicuous, welcome and thank you for joining me here this morning. We're going to go straight into it. Today's Torah study is dedicated in honor of the complete and speedy recovery of two of our beloved members. Cookie Gottlieb is Chaya Malka Bas Mincha, and Shelly Palercio is Matla Bas Basha. Both of them should have a complete and speedy recovery. They should be back on their feet in no time at all, and back with us, back with their families, and back with their loved ones. So, Chanukah candles. When are you supposed to light the Chanukah candles? Can you light them in the morning? Good morning, Lawrence. Can you light the Chanukah candles midnight? Is any time okay? The mitzvah of the Chanukah candles is based upon the mitzvah of the lighting of the lights inside of the temple. Remember the story? The Greeks made impure all the oils in the temple, the oils that were used, the olive oils that were used for the menorah inside of the holy temple. And they found one pitcher of oil with which to light the menorah. Now, there's a very important difference, two important differences between the way the menorah was lit in the temple and the way the menorah is lit on Chanukah. Inside of the temple was lit indoors. On Chanukah, we light it facing the public domain. We learned about that yesterday. Another difference is that the Chanukah lights in the temple were lit by the daytime. The menorah lights of the temple were lit in the daytime. The Chanukah lights must be lit at nighttime. They got to illuminate at nighttime. They got to shine at night. The difference is, just for a quick Kabbalistic dive here, is, good morning, Ed, is that the lights of the temple were a God-given gift, what we call from above to below. The Chanukah lights were the opposite energy. The Chanukah lights is when we fought back, when we fought for our faith. When the Greeks tried to attack our Judaism and we fought back against them, this was inspired not from above but from below. When something is inspired from above, it might be more powerful. When something is inspired from below, it is more impactful. If somebody gives you $1,000, it's very nice, but you don't feel like it's yours. You don't feel good about yourself. But if you work hard for something, you might not make $1,000. You might make $300, but that $300 is yours. You feel like you own it. So when God gives us the lights of the menorah in the temple, very nice, but it only lights up the daytime in the indoors. But when we inspire the lights of Chanukah, that is something which lights up even the darkness of this world, even the outdoors of this world, even the place that are void of godliness that are dark. Good morning, Bob Wertheimer. So that's the reason that we light the Chanukah lights at the nighttime. Let's take a look. So the law is as follows. There are Jewish communities whose custom is to light the Chanukah candles after sundown, what we call the Shkia. There are Jewish communities that have the custom to light the Chanukah lights after nightfall. Now, nightfall is different to sunset. Sunset, let's take a quick look at this in today's app, the app of the day. So sunrise this morning was at 6:54. Today, sunset is at 5:27. But nightfall is not until 5:53. And this is obviously in Palm Beach Gardens. 5:27 is sunset, nightfall is 5:53, which means Shabbos will begin before 5:27. but Shabbos will end after 5:53. So that's how it works. You start Shabbos. This is the twilight between sunset and nightfall is twilight. So some people light the candles after sunset. Some people light the candles after nightfall. The Chabad custom is to light the candles after sunset during that twilight time between Mincha and Ma'ariv. Mincha is afternoon prayer. You have to pray that before sunset. Ma'ariv, you're supposed to pray after nightfall. You're supposed to wait a little bit between the Mincha and Ma'ariv. Now, if you didn't light the candles at the correct time, then you can still light them as long as afterwards, as long as your family members are still awake. Remember, we learned yesterday that the major component of the mitzvah is Pirsumei Nisa, is to advertise the miracle. So it is to promote it, publicize, to talk about the miracle. So if your family members are still awake, you can still light the candles. But after your family members went to sleep, you can no longer fulfill the mitzvah of advertising the miracle, and therefore you should light the candles without a blessing. Of course, another option is to wake up your family members and then light the candles of the menorah, but I'm not sure if they will take that so well with as much enthusiasm as you might be indicating. Now, once the time of the lighting of the candles has begun, you're not allowed to eat because you got to make sure you didn't miss it. Once the lighting of the candles has begun, you're not allowed to eat, and you're not allowed to do any labor. You're not allowed to even study Torah until you light the candles. It's very similar to the law of checking for chametz the night before Pesach. When there's a mitzvah that starts at nightfall, you're not allowed to do anything. You can't even eat. Can't even study Torah because you might forget. And if you did start a labor, or you started to do something, or you started to learn Torah, you got to stop. And there are those that are even more stringent to say that even half an hour before the lighting of the candle times, even from then, you're not allowed to learn Torah. But you don't have to be so stringent. You can really start from the lighting candles time, which is either sunset or nightfall. Now, let me be clear that we spoke about the prime time, but what's the earliest time that you're allowed to light candles? The earliest time that you're allowed to light candles comes into play, for example, on Shabbos, when Chanukah conflicts with Shabbos, which is inevitable. It happens every single year because Chanukah is 8 days, and Shabbos shows up every 7 days. So there's always going to be a Shabbos on Chanukah. So how do you deal with that? If you're lighting candles of Chanukah after nightfall, it's definitely already Shabbos. And if you're lighting Chanukah candles after sunset, then it's also still Shabbos. Shabbos starts at nightfall. So what do we do? By the way, the time on our calendar is always 18 minutes before nightfall. The candle lighting time on the calendar is always 18 minutes before nightfall. Why? I'm sorry. I misspoke. The time on the calendar is always 18 minutes before sunset. So the Friday night candle lighting time on the calendar. Look at it on the calendar. Hopefully everybody by now has received the calendar. I know that I haven't, but I think it's one last mail route. I think we got some interesting mail person that's holding back our calendars. But if you look in the calendar, you look at every Friday. You see the Friday here. See the Friday? You got a candle lighting time. That is always 18 minutes before sunset. And the reason that we do that is because we don't want to tell you the lighting of the candles time at sunset, because if you light it at that moment, you've already violated the Shabbos. You're not allowed to light candles on Shabbos. Therefore, we tell you 18 minutes before so that you can light it between the time on the calendar and Shabbos. But if it's 18 minutes after, if it's 18 minutes after, then you can't light the Shabbos candles anymore. You have to light the Shabbos candles before sunset. And the same principle applies to Chanukah as well. So when Chanukah falls on Shabbos, you can't light after sunset, and you certainly can't light after nightfall. So what you do is that you light before sunset. But what is the earliest time to light candles? Earliest time is the earliest definition of night. It's called Plag HaMincha. Plag HaMincha is the earliest time that you're able to accept Shabbos, that you're able to do any of the mitzvahs that pertain to the evening. When is that? Let me take a quick look over here. I'm going to pull up my app. You can actually find this on our website at jewishgardens.com/calendar, I think it is. If you go to jewishgardens.com, let me check. jewishgardens.com/calendar. Let's see if that works. Loading. Okay. So meanwhile, today's sunset is a 5:27 as mentioned, but today's Plag HaMincha is before that. Always before that. It's at 4:25. It's at 4:25, which means that's the earliest time that you can accept the Shabbos, that you can daven, Ma'ariv, really, the evening service. But really, the link I wanted you to tell you about is jewishgardens.com/halachic times. Not that easy to type, but jewishgardens.com/halachic times. That's HALACHIK. Sorry, I'm sorry. Halachic is HALACHIC. 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 jewishgardens.com/halachic times. And there you'll see the halachic times for Palm Beach Gardens, where you'll see the half of mincha. The plaga mincha is today at 4:25, and that is the earliest time that you are allowed to light the Shabbos candles and also the Chanukah candles as well. Which is why I'm sure we'll get to that in a few minutes. It's going to come up. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. Anyways. So let's do it right now, actually. So Erev Shabbos, you light the Chanukah candles, and after that, you light the Shabbos candles. First Chanukah candles, and then Shabbos candles. And you make a blessing on them, even though you're still lighting the candles while it's technically still day, as long as it is after this time of Plaga Mincha, which I just told you about. Let's get a little bit more into Plaga Mincha. What is that? Well, it's a little too technical. I don't know if I want to get into it right now. Okay, I'm not going to get into it right now. You can just find it every day on the website. It's at jewishgardens.com/halachic times. Okay. What you do is, on a Friday night, you first daven mincha, which is the afternoon service. And if you see that there's a little time extra before Shabbos comes in, if you see that there's only a little time left before Shabbos, then don't tarry, don't wait. You should first light the Chanukah candles, and after that, you should daven mincha. Now, since you're lighting candles early, you got to make sure, and this is the catch, you've got to make sure when you do light early on a Friday night, and by the way, you can light early any night of Hanukkah as long as you do the following. Because not always, sometimes you got a plane to catch, sometimes you got things to do, you got to go. So what's the earliest time that you can actually do the mitzvah? You need to go to Miami. I don't know. By the time you get to Miami, it's going to be already late. It's going to be 8 o'clock, and it might be too late to light the candles. But you got to leave at 5:15, let's say. Right? So what do you do? It's not yet 5:27, which is the sunset. So when do you light the candles? What you do is you light them at home early. And by the way, you have to sit at those candles for half an hour. So you can actually light. We said, what was that earliest time? We said, Plaga Mincha, if Chanukah was today, and it's going to be pretty similar next week, Plaga Mincha is at 4:25, right? So you can technically light at 4:26 and wait half an hour with the candles. And then you go to Miami at 5:15 and you get there whenever you get there. And you fulfill the mitzvah. So let's take a look. When you light the candles early, you got to make sure that there's enough oil in them to burn, whether it's oil or wax, that they should burn half an hour after nightfall. That's the catch. So even if you're starting to light early, you got to make sure there's enough oil in there that after nightfall, which today we said was 5:53, you got to make sure it can light until 6:23. Half an hour after nightfall. And that's to answer your question, Corey, that the Hanukkah candles have to burn on Friday at least half an hour. And that's how you're fulfilling the mitzvah, even though you started early. So when you start lighting early, you're still fulfilling the mitzvah. As if you light too early, you didn't do the mitzvah. Before Plaga Mincha, you didn't light the candles at nighttime, you lit the candles in daytime. But if you lit the candles after Plaga Mincha, it's now considered legally nighttime, but still to fulfill the fullest obligation of the mitzvah, you got to make sure there's enough oil or wax to burn until half an hour after nightfall. So therefore, if you're using those little thin Hanukkah candles that are free, that are available everywhere, those ones only burn for half an hour. Those ones are not kosher for a Friday night. If you take a nice Friday night candle, the big thick Friday night candles, where you put a lot of oil in your wick, in your cup of oil, then that can burn for 5-6 hours. Terrific. You're great. You're good to go. Now, since the time of lighting candles of Shabbos is at least 18 minutes before sunset, therefore you got to make sure that you're lighting your Hanukkah candles before the Shabbos candles. After you light the candles of Shabbos, you're not allowed to, everything is mukta. There's a law called mukta. Mukta, which means designated. On Shabbos, there's a lot of things you're not allowed to do. You're not allowed to light a fire, you can't cook, you can't carry, you can't do business. So therefore, a lot of stuff on Shabbos is untouchable. It's called mukta. It's untouchable. For example, expensive art, car keys, money, charity boxes, computers, cars, light switches. All of that is is not kosher, you're not allowed to touch it on Shabbos. It's called mukta. Therefore, the moment that you lit your Shabbos candles and fire is also mukta. You can't touch it. It's called mukta. Can't touch it. So once you lit the Shabbos candles, you're not allowed to move the Chanukah candles. You're not allowed to even touch them until after Havdalah on Saturday night. And therefore, it's understood that you're not allowed to come back and fix the Chanukah lights if they got extinguished, right? You first lit the Chanukah candles, then you lit the Shabbos candles, then you notice your Chanukah candles are out, or some of them are out. You can't go back and fix them after the Shabbos candles. Once you lit Shabbos candles, it is now Shabbat. There's nothing you can do about your Chanukah candles. If they're out, they're out. Nothing to do about it. Because you'd be desecrating the Shabbos. You'd be desecrating the Shabbos. After Shabbos is out, you light. Now, that was before Shabbos. You light the Chanukah candles before the Shabbos candles. What about after Shabbos? Again, after Shabbos, you can't light at sunset because Shabbos isn't out yet, right after sunset. But you can light right after nightfall because that's when Shabbos is out. So at the end of Shabbos, first you light the Chanukah candles in Shul. If you have a minyan in Shul, you light the Chanukah candle. In Shul, the order is first Chanukah candles before Havdalah, before you terminate the Shabbos. You see daven in the evening service, you do the Chanukah candles, and then you do the Havdalah. But at home, it's the other way around. First, if you're at home, you first daven Ma'ariv and you do Havdalah. You say goodbye to Shabbos. Then you light the Chanukah candles, and after that, you're good. Good. Okay, so that explains it. But again, just to clarify that if you do need to light the Chanukah candles earlier for whatever reason, you are allowed to light them not too early, but from the earliest time is from Plag HaMincha, which is the halachic, the earliest legal time of evening, right? And same applies for accepting Shabbos early. If you want to welcome Shabbos in early, for example, it applies to Plag HaMincha. If you want to daven the evening service, it's the earliest time to daven. And this, by the way, makes a difference in certain countries in the poles, near the poles. In Northern Europe or primarily Northern Europe or Canada or Asia, where Shabbos could come out like. Shabbos could come in, let's say 11:30 p.m. When I was in Northern England, in Leeds, Shabbos came in, I think, 11:30. And you got kids and kiddush and Havdalah. I mean, it's like really weird. It gets a conflict with Hanukkah candles, for example, where you want to light the Hanukkah candles with your family. We said your family's got to be up. But what happens if it doesn't, sunset is not until 11:30 p.m. So what do? Your family went to sleep at 8 p.m., late, or 6 p.m. What do? So Plag HaMincha then could be like 9 o'clock or 8:30. So what you do is you got to work it out and keep the kids up until the earliest time that you can light the Hanukkah candles, and then you go ahead, you light the candles at Plag HaMincha. So it's not only a Shabbos thing. You do it when you need to, whatever the circumstances, right? If you're having a community event or whatever you're doing, you light the Hanukkah candles when you, the earliest you need to do it, the earliest you're allowed to do it is from the Plag HaMincha and onwards. Okay, now, the order of the lighting of the Hanukkah candles, how does it work? On the first night of Hanukkah, which is the night before the 25th of Kislev, the evening of the 25th of Kislev. It's interesting. I was talking to my neighbor the other day, and I saw him on the eve of Thanksgiving. Nice guy, he's like a Gentile Christian. So I said to him, "Have you had your Thanksgiving feast already?" And he says, "We don't have it tonight. It's tomorrow night." I'm like, "Oh goodness, I didn't realize." With us Jews, I said everything that we do starts the night before, so we're like the night before Thanksgiving. But I didn't realize, I forgot that the Thanksgiving feast should be in the afternoon of Thanksgiving, not the night before, right? So we Jews do everything from the night before because when it comes to creation of the world, God first created night and then he created day. The night comes before the day and the night does not come after the day. So tonight at sunset will start tomorrow. Today started yesterday at sunset. Okay, so what you do on the first night of Hanukkah is you light one candle. On the second night, you light 2 candles, and so on, until the last night, you're lighting all 8 candles. Obviously, the shamish, which is the attendant candle, is separate from that count. So there's always the attendant in addition to the candle of the night. On the first night before lighting the candles, we make 3 separate blessings, and they are, you'll find them in the siddur, in the prayer book. We're actually going to be distributing a booklet for Chanukah, DIY booklet, just like we did for the high holidays. We're going to need some help, by the way. We're going to need some help with packing 300 Chanukah gift packages for our members and friends. And we've got a golf event on Tuesday, and we've got a massive Chanukah event on Thursday and on Friday. So if you're able to help out, please let us know. let me or Ashley know, or Chana know, if you can please help us out with packing these Chanukah packages, which will include a Chanukah gift book, Chanukah booklet, Chanukah candles, and all other goodies in there. A customized Chabad mask, nice stuff. We're going to put in there just to help you celebrate Hanukkah socially distant and safe. But we do need help with packing those 300 packages. If you could please let us know. We are understaffed and overworked here at the Chabad, so please let us know if you're able to help out. So the blessings will be in there. We want to make sure that as many people as possible will be able to celebrate Hanukkah properly this year with a Hanukkah booklet, a DIY booklet, Hanukkah candles, and all other good stuff. So those 3 blessings on the first night are Lahadlik Ner Shel Hanukkah, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam. Blessed are you, Lord, Master of the Universe, has commanded us with the mitzvah of lighting the Hanukkah candles. The second blessing is, blessed are you, Lord of God, King of the universe, who has made miracles for our forefathers in those days, in these days. And the first and the third blessing is we do it the first time every time we do a mitzvah in an annual cycle. So since it's the first time we light the Hanukkah candles, we say the blessing of Shehecheyanu. We only do that the first time we light the Hanukkah candles in a year, which should be the first night. But if for whatever reason the first time we light Hanukkah candles is on night 6 or 7 or 8, you say the Shehecheyanu blessing that time, whenever that is the first time that you or someone you know is lighting the Hanukkah candles. By the way, when you get your Hanukkah package this year with your menorah, if you already have a menorah, then pass it forward. Menorah it forward. Pass the menorah to someone else, a neighbor, a friend, a family member, somebody that doesn't know how to celebrate Hanukkah. And you be the shliach. You be the ambassador, the agent, the emissary. We are the emissaries of the Rebbe, and you could be our emissary. All of us dating back to Hashem, who sent all of us out to spread the light of the mitzvah in the most beautiful way, the Pirsume Nisa, the advertising the miracle, and allowing as many of our fellow Jews as possible to participate in the mitzvah. Okay, person shouldn't start lighting in the rest of the nights of Hanukkah, you only make 2 blessings after you made the first time, the Shehecheyanu. You make the first 2, the mitzvah of lighting the candles and the mitzvah, and thanking God for making miracles for us back then, as well as these days. Those days as well as these days. Good morning, Elaine. Okay, a person should not start lighting the candles until he's finished all the blessings. This I always find is a problem. Finish the blessings first, then light the candles. I often find people like in the middle of the blessing, they're like already lighting. I'm like, stop, hold on, finish the blessing, then you do the mitzvah. Every time we do a mitzvah, we finish the blessing and then we do the deed. Right? It's like eating food. You make a blessing. After you finish the blessing, then you eat the bread. Imagine you stuff the bread into your mouth while you're in the middle of a blessing. It doesn't work like that. You always do the mitzvah, the act of the mitzvah, after the verbal sanctification of the mitzvah. So with Hanukkah candles also, first finish both or 3 blessings, and then you begin the lighting of the candles. The first candle, what we do, we place the first candle on the right side of the menorah. On the second night, the second candle, is to the left of the old candle, which means we're moving the menorah candles. They begin on the right side, and we work our way towards the left side of the menorah. Night 1 is 1 candle on the right. Night 2 is 2 candles on the right. Night 3 is 3 candles on the right, and so on until the 7th night is 7 candles on the right with 1 empty space on the left, on the left side. The newest candle is on the left side, but we slowly move our way from the right side towards the left side. When you actually do the kindling, you first light the new candle and then you light the older candle. So let's say on night number 3, you first light candle number 3 on the left, then candle number 2, and then candle number 1 all the way on the right. So the placement of the candles goes right to left, but the kindling of the candles goes from left to right. After you lit all the candles, that's when we say the beautiful prayer, which is after the verbal affirmation, which is after the Chanukah candle. It's called Haner Salolu, these lights, and that we say right after we finish the lighting of the candles. So a lot of people, they'll start singing Hanerot Halalu, or they'll say Hanerot Halalu She'anu Madlikim, depending on your custom, your tune, whatever, your culture. You don't start the song until you finish the kindling of the candles, and that could take a while if it's not going. You need to move something, you need to fix something. Finish the kindling and then start the singing. Corey is a bit confused. Why you light the Hanukkah candles before dark when public can't see candles until dark. Why you light candles before dark when public can't see candles until dark? So Corey explained that the reason is because sometimes we're just not available. Sometimes you can't do it. For example, if it's Shabbos. If it's Shabbos, you can't light the candles after sunset because it's Shabbos. Or if you need to go somewhere, right? If you need to go somewhere, you got to do something. Or if there's, for example, a community event, which is scheduled for whatever reason at a certain time, you need to make sure that the candle lighting is after Plaga Mincha, but you can still light it before sunset. I believe we've spoken about this in the past. And as long as there's enough lights to burn half an hour after nightfall. So your question is answered by me telling you that the candles are going to burn the same length of time. The only question is when you did the actual kindling. And if you did the kindling after Plaga Mincha, it's 100% kosher, no problem. Okay, now, the candles themselves need to light, like we just said, half an hour after nightfall. The Chabad custom is that we're very careful that they should light at least 50 minutes from the time that they were lit. Which means even if you lit the candles at nightfall, Chabad custom, we said it's after sunset. But even, which would make sense, because we light it after sunset, which is about 18 minutes before nightfall. Let's see, today it is 5:27. Yeah, it's about 25 minutes between nightfall and sunset, plus the 30 minutes after nightfall, so that works out to about 50 minutes, right? But even if you're lighting the candles after nightfall, you still should light the candles, the Chabad custom, let them burn for 50 minutes, 50 minutes from the time that they were kindled. Before the lighting of the candles, there has to be inside of the menorah enough oil or wax to make it last that amount of time. In other words, you can't light them with a little bit of oil and add the oil later, because at the moment of lighting, they have to have enough oil to burn that amount of time. If you added the oil later, then the time of the kindling wasn't sufficient. Right? It's got to make sure that the time of the kindling, there was enough oil to burn until, as long as it needs to burn. So if you're lighting before sunset, after Plaga Mincha, you got to make sure it's got enough oil now to burn for half an hour after sunset. Okay, so good. Conflict with Pirsumei Hanes in daylight. Andy, yes. So Andy's asking, Andy's asking, Ohana, conflict with Prince of Hanes in daylight. Again, you're not conflicting with advertising the miracle by lighting in daylight. Because what you're doing is that it's still burning. It's still burning the 30 minutes after nightfall. So I don't understand the question. Second of all, you said it's your tradition is sunset rather than dark. Correct. It is our tradition. The Chabad tradition is to light it after sunset under normal circumstances. But if you need to light it earlier, you may. So Hannah's explaining Corey's point. Okay. So if Corey's point is that you wanted to make sure that it's going to be advertised in the miracle, no problem. We've solved that very simply because the candles advertise the miracle by burning half an hour after sunset, even if they were kindled. Sorry, half an hour after nightfall, even if they were kindled before that. So Corey agrees with Andy, lighting it dark stays lit longer for Pirsumei Nisa. I'm not sure, Corey, why you think that lighting the candle time makes a difference to the length of the burning of the candles. You can put in oil to burn for 8 hours if you want. Sometimes I do that. I have these huge cups of glass that sit in my silver candelabra, and they burn for a long time. So even if I light them Erev Shabbos, let's say 5 o'clock, because I got to get to shul in time, and I got to whatever, still they could burn till midnight sometimes. You're not allowed to use the light of the Chanukah candles, which means you're not allowed to read with their light. You're not allowed to work near their lights. Therefore, we light the shamash. We mentioned this yesterday, so that in case you did benefit from the light of the menorah, we can always blame it on the shamash light, on the light of the attendant candle. And what you do is you put it a little higher than the other candles in order that it should be recognizable that it's separate from them and it's not part of the count of the nights. It's customary to be stringent, not to light the Chanukah candle, one Chanukah candle from another Chanukah candle, right? And certainly not to light the attendant, the shamash candle, from one of the Chanukah candles, because you're not allowed to use them, not even to light each other. Rather, we use the shamash to serve the other candles. If one of them went out, you light him back from the shamash. A candle that was extinguished for whatever reason during the time that it was supposed to be still burning, let's say it was still within half an hour after nightfall, what you do is you go back and you relight it. Use the shamash to relight it. After the length of time that it burnt, you are now, if it burnt for the half an hour after nightfall, you're now allowed to use, you're not allowed to touch the menorah, even if they are still burning. So now you're allowed to use them because it's finished its obligation of burning, and now you're allowed to even move it around. There are those, we have the custom of sticking around the Chanukah candles for half an hour to experience them. In the words of the Rebbe, you're supposed to look at the Chanukah candles and listen to the story that they tell you. We have to listen to the stories that the candles are telling us. And the Chanukah candles have burnt for thousands of years. They've been telling us very, very many stories. They carry a profound message, a beautiful meditation during the half an hour that you're supposed to stick around the Chanukah candles, except for Friday night when you're not really able to because it's Shabbos. Before lighting Chanukah candles, you're supposed to gather your family around to promote the miracle, as we mentioned, Persumei Nisa. Also, we light the Chanukah candles when dressed with a gartel. Gartel is the belt which we wear during davening to separate between the lofty spiritual components of our being, the heart and the mind, and the less spiritual parts, the more materialistic parts of our body. We wear that. It's a Kabbalistic preparation for prayer. So we put a gartel on during the lighting of the Chanukah candles. However, it's not our custom to light them with Shabbos clothes. Okay, and that's a wrap, friends. That's a wrap for today's Torah study. I'm just going to conclude with a blessing of healing for Cookie and for Shelly. If you'd like to include anybody else's name in the blessing, please do so as I pause. May you bless our forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Moses, and Aaron, David, and Solomon. We yivarach v'yirapeh es Chaya Malka bas Mincha, Cookie Gottlieb es Matla bas Basha, Shelly Palersio, Bavushim, Neder, Itnul Tzaka, Bavurum, for pledge to charity without a vow on their behalf. May Almighty God be filled with mercy to restore them to health and full vitality. May send them from heaven a full, complete recovery. To all their body parts, amongst all sick people of Israel, repose and nefesh, repose a healing of the body and the healing of the soul, and let us respond. Amen. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining me here today. Again, if you're able to volunteer to help us pack and prepare the Hanukkah gift boxes, this is Persumei Nisa. This is the miracle of Hanukkah, to advertise the miracle to people that barely know about it, that don't know what to do, that don't even have the tools to do it. We can help them experience the miracle. Please be our shluchim to help us reach out to others. We need your help. We need your volunteer. If you are able to help us, please let us know. Call the office at 561-624-2223. That's 561-624-2223. Or email us at office@jewishgardens.com. That's office@jewishgardens.com. Or chana@jewishgardens.com. That's chana, CHANA, @jewishgardens.com. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. Great to see you. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Marty. And have a wonderful day. Today is Thursday. I believe that Corey's giving a class at 11:30 on Hebrew language through King David Psalms. That's Hebrew language through King David Psalms today at 11:30 on Zoom. It's at jewishgardens.com/Zoom. Thank you very much, everybody. Shalom. Be well. And tonight is the JLI class, by the way, a magnificent JLI class, an expose into the Kabbalah, the world of Kabbalah. It's beautiful. A reorientation of reality. You'll literally be able to see the world through new lenses today as we study the story of Jacob and Esau in the most profound way. If you can join that class. I think it's at jewishgardens.com/RSVP, jewishgardens.com/RSVP. You need to sign up for that one. Thank you very much, everybody. Shalom, and have a wonderful day.